Caitlin Clark has had a bit of a weird start to her WNBA career. She's had a bit of a weird media frenzy all over her for the last 2 years. Ever since the "You Can't See Me" incident, when she did it towards her coach on the bench, and Hailey Van Lith happened to be near it, to Angel Reese kind of chasing after her doing it. And like, look, it's the most like nothing thing ever as far as trash talk goes. It is like the most nothing thing ever, but it just became so crazy. Since then, she's had some of the most media attention of any basketball player in the world, and rightfully so. She's unbelievably good. But there's another player coming up that I think is going to be equally as hyped, and Caitlin Clark has offered advice to her, which I actually think is great. I actually think it's great that she is reaching out, because if anything, like, it's not going to be one way. The media coverage that the two of them are going to get this year, it's good to just even have someone to talk to about it that will understand. Before we get on to it, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to 5,000 subscribers as soon as possible, and we upload more basketball content and WNBA content than anywhere else. But anyway, now let's get on to the video. So Juju Watkins is unbelievable at basketball. She's unbelievable. She is likely to beat Caitlin Clark's record for points after 4 years, and she's almost certainly going to be the number 1 overall pick. Touch wood, no injuries. She's going to be the number 1 overall pick when she comes out of college. Juju Watkins is going to be as much of a sensation as Caitlin Clark was, and I'm so confident in that. Like, just the way that she plays, the smoothness she has to her game, just how fun she is to watch. Unlike, say, someone like an A'ja Wilson, who just gets the job done. She's going to drop 30 and 10, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's not like it's an exciting 30 and 10, it's just an effective 30 and 10. Whereas Juju Watkins is going to give you a pretty 40 points. Like, when she scores 40, you're going to watch these highlights and be in awe. Different type of highlights to Caitlin Clark. Like, Caitlin Clark has the best range I've ever seen for a shooter, and that might include Stephen Curry. Like, I've never seen somebody so comfortable at shooting from as deep as her. Actually, no, sorry, not including Steph. Outside of Steph. Like, I think she's almost at that Dame level of, like, shooting from deep because of the way she spots up. Like, she spots up. She looks to spot up from 2 meters outside the three-point line. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. But Juju Watkins is better going to the basket. She has a pull-up game. She can go left. She can go right. She can handle the ball better than Clark. Her game looks more smooth. Like, the way Juju plays is like a more smooth version of Paige Bueckers. Now, she just has everything. Her game has no holes in it. So I think when she's averaging 30 at USC the next couple of years, and if they do make any sort of a run in the tournament, Juju Watkins is going to have equally as much media attention as Caitlin Clark. And it's a good thing, because a lot of people are going to be saying, oh, the WNBA is going to die if Caitlin Clark has a bad year. It won't. It won't. It won't grow exponentially, but there's going to be people hyped for Paige Bueckers, and you better believe when Juju Watkins comes into the league, there's going to be hype, especially because Caitlin Clark is eventually, maybe not straight away, she's going to do what she did in college again. Like, she is averaging the guts of 20 and 8 so far this year. Or I think it's like 19 and 7 she's averaging this year. Caitlin Clark will probably have a couple of 23 and 10 years in the WNBA. Like 23 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds. Like, that is a stat line she's more than likely going to have in a couple of years. And then she's going to have a few 30, 40 point games where she's shooting those half-court bombs. She's not going to lose how comfortable she is with that shot. And look, it's going to happen again. The hype that was surrounding her when she was destroying Louisville, South Carolina, eventually it's going to come back in WNBA. Eventually it is. I hope the referees are told to referee it like a basketball game, not a prison rules basketball game. And I hope that these rookies coming in and Clark getting freaking choke slammed, Reese getting choke slammed and Clark getting hacked for the entire game, that like it changes something, because the league obviously is physical, but it's almost prison ball. But then, like, I think Juju Watkins is going to come in and be equally as hyped. And what Caitlin Clark is doing with Juju, I really like, is that she's basically offering to some guidance, because the media hype around Juju is going to be unbelievable. It's going to be crazy, and there's going to be almost as much pressure put on her in a couple of years, or even over the next few years there was on Clark. And a lot of people on Twitter are like, oh, this is a ridiculous, Juju doesn't need any help, you're just trying to make yourself look good. At the end of the day, is Juju doing a great job of dealing with the pressure already? Yeah, she is. She's much more hyped than Caitlin Clark was as a freshman. She's doing a really good job and she's got a good support system around her. But it can never hurt just even having another person to talk to, especially a person who's gone through the exact same thing as you've went through. And look, it is just the case with all these players, and especially with the way the media is, especially in America, heck, in Ireland, England, in every English-speaking country, this is the way it is. The media builds you up, and they build you up to a point where it is a near impossibility to reach the standards they set, and when you don't reach that standards, they will tear you down. And that's exactly what's happening with Caitlin Clark. The fact is, they built her up to an unrealistic standard, and then she goes and has near 41 points. She has a 41 point near triple double against LSU. So she lived up to all the standards, but now you can see she's not living up to what people thought she was going to be in the NBA, and the media is trying to tear her down, and that's gonna happen. That's going to happen to everybody. It's likely going to happen to Paige Beckers next year as well. She's not going to come in and dominate the WNBA. I think people know that now. So maybe there'll be less pressure put on her. But I think that the pressure is going to be there on Juju to do a Candace Parker in a couple of years. I think she's going to be more dominant in college than Caitlin Clark was. I think she's going to break all of Caitlin Clark's records. And I think that we're going to be talking in 3 years' time about how is Juju Watkins the MVP, and Juju Watkins is what everyone thought Caitlin Clark was, and she's going to come in and they're going to beat the crap out of her just like they are with Caitlin Clark, and there's no player in the history of basketball that can get the crap beaten out of them for 4 quarters every single game of the year and thrive. So people are like, oh, Caitlin Clark needs to toughen up. And it's like, well, man, if you're being double teamed at half court, you're just not going to score. It's as simple as that. But all the thing through college for both of them, I think it will actually help both of them, because Caitlin Clark has been subject to some unbelievably bad pressure being put on her by the media, and it's gotten to the stage now where the media doesn't highlight the good things Caitlin Clark does. And by the media, I mean certain parts of the media, because there's 2 sides in the media that are completely wrong. And it's like, there are the sides that don't like Caitlin Clark, not because they don't like Caitlin Clark the person, they don't like what Caitlin, because there's no reason to not like Caitlin Clark the person. They just don't like what Caitlin Clark represents, and they're going to try to tear her down. And then there's the other side that are quote unquote anti-woke, and all they're going to do is tear down the entire league around Caitlin Clark. But in the reality, when we're talking about pure basketball, she's been exceptional as a rookie. There's been a lot of issues with her team. There's been a lot of issues with how Caitlin Clark herself has played. But she's going to learn, she's going to get better, and she's going to be a future superstar, if not already a superstar in the league. I've watched every Fever game. I've watched every team play at least once. There are not 20 players in this league better than Caitlin Clark. And then when it comes to Angel Reese, her playstyle is going to translate a bit better. You're not going to see Angel Reese getting as much criticism because her playstyle is purely based on effort. She's not an absolute superstar, but she is a superstar at her role. She's one of the best role players in the league. So it's hard to criticize Angel Reese, but it's also hard to build Angel Reese up as much as Clark, because the highs aren't as high with Reese and the lows aren't as low. But obviously Caitlin Clark's having to deal with all this, and the fact that it's extremely hard to deal with this, especially alone, and no matter what support network you have around you, it's hard to deal with this without someone else that even understands what you're going through. And I genuinely do think that for Juju, eventually the media is going to try to tear Juju down. It's going to happen, and it's just the way the media is. And I think the fact that at least Caitlin Clark is putting out a hand to offer guidance, at least it means that when that happens, she's got someone there that knows exactly what she went through, and vice versa. That there's someone who will be going through a similar thing to what Caitlin Clark is right now, that she's able to reach out to and talk to. Because the only person that I can think of that has had this much pressure put on them going into a league is LeBron James. And LeBron James had this before the social media era. Actually, maybe Lonzo Ball, if we're being honest. Maybe Lonzo. But other than that, LeBron James. So, yeah, I'm glad to see this. And, social media is bad when, news of this broke, which is just an objectively good thing. It is a good thing for both parties. It's a good thing for Juju Watkins, because she is going to be one of the next faces of the WNBA. And people are being like, oh, Caitlin Clark wants to ruin her career, this, that. And it's like projecting their hatred towards what Caitlin Clark represents on Caitlin Clark the person. And it's just, it is mad seeing this from so much of the media. And it's like, if you actually take away, if you actually look at all of these players, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are both seem to be just really nice people. And it's funny the amount of, for both of them, the amount of just negatives being spewed at them by different sides of the media for absolutely no reason. It's crazy. But hopefully, now this is going to help. And hopefully in 3 years' time, Juju's as good as I hope. And she's going to be one of the next faces of this league, because the skill level in women's basketball, it's getting better and better and better. And it's only going to continue to get better as the years go on. As we're seeing more girls at 15, 16 continue to play the sport at a high level, because they're seeing all these players succeed. They're seeing something for it in them. And it becomes trendy to play basketball. You're seeing less and less of them drop out of sports when they're 14, 15, 16. And some of those might end up being the next faces, the next future of WNBA. So anyway, that is the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.